Collapse your wealth identity, the 3D to 5D money frequency shift. Stop everything and listen, because what I'm about to reveal will completely transform how you understand wealth creation. You've been trying to create more money in 3D, working harder, strategizing better, taking more action, but you keep hitting the same walls and getting the same results. Here's the truth that changes everything. Your next income level already exists, but not in 3D. It exists in 5D, in a higher dimensional frequency where a wealthier version of you is already living the financial reality you desire. Right now, you're locked in 3D consciousness, linear time, physical effort, limitation, scarcity. But there's a completely different way to create wealth that doesn't require grinding or forcing. It's called the 3D to 5D money frequency shift, and once you make the shift, you stop trying to build wealth through effort alone and start collapsing it from higher dimensions where it already exists. This isn't metaphysical fantasy, this is quantum mechanics applied to money. In 3D consciousness, you believe wealth must be earned through time and effort. You think, I need to work harder, find better strategies, put in more hours, and gradually build my income over years. This is the paradigm you've been operating from, and it's kept you stuck in struggle and limitation. 3D wealth creation is linear, slow, exhausting, and capped by physical limitations. There's only so much you can do, only so many hours you can work, only so much you can accomplish through individual effort. You're bound by 3D rules, time, space, and effort, which means your income potential is inherently limited. This is why you feel stuck. You're trying to create unlimited wealth using a limited 3D approach. But 5D consciousness operates completely differently. In 5D, wealth already exists in infinite forms across all possible timelines. There's a version of you already living at your desired income level. It's not future, it's right now in a parallel frequency. In 5D, you don't create wealth from nothing. You collapse it from the quantum field where it already exists, pulling it from higher dimensions into your 3D physical reality. This happens through frequency matching and identity shifting, not through effort and time. You become the frequency of the wealthy version of you that exists in 5D, and as you hold that frequency consistently, you literally collapse that reality into your 3D experience. What would take years in 3D can happen in weeks or months in 5D because you're not building, you're collapsing what already exists. Think of it this way. In 3D, you're trying to manually construct a house brick by brick, slow, laborious, limited by your physical capacity. In 5D, the completed house already exists in blueprint form in the quantum field, and you're simply collapsing it into physical reality by matching its frequency. Same house, completely different process. One takes years of hard work. The other happens rapidly through alignment. Most people spend their entire lives operating in 3D, exhausting themselves trying to build wealth manually, never realizing they could collapse it from 5D where it already exists fully formed. The people who experience rapid wealth creation, who seem to manifest money out of nowhere, who have quantum leaps in income, they're not working harder than you in 3D. They've accessed 5D consciousness, whether they know it consciously or not. They've aligned their frequency with a wealthier version of themselves that exists in higher dimensions, and they're collapsing that reality into their 3D experience. The wealth appears to come from nowhere because it's coming from a dimension you can't see with 3D awareness. But it's absolutely real, and it's absolutely accessible to you once you make the shift from 3D to 5D money consciousness. I'm about to show you exactly what 3D and 5D money consciousness are, why you've been stuck in 3D, and the precise protocol for making the dimensional frequency shift that allows you to collapse wealth from higher dimensions instead of trying to build it through effort alone. This is the shift that changes everything. Let's move you from 3D limitation to 5D abundance. Understanding 3D versus 5D money consciousness. Let's break down the fundamental differences between 3D and 5D money consciousness so you clearly understand what shift you're making. These aren't just different strategies, they're completely different paradigms for how wealth is created and experienced. 3D money consciousness operates in linear time. In 3D, you believe wealth creation is a sequential process. You work, you get paid, you save, you invest, you build over years or decades. Results are proportional to time and effort invested. If you want to double your income, you believe you need to double your work or wait twice as long. Time is the primary currency in 3D. You're trading your time for money, and there's a finite limit to how much time you have. This creates an inherent ceiling because you can't create more hours in the day. You're bound by linear progression where A must happen before B, and B before C. Wealth accumulation feels slow, gradual, and dependent on sustained effort over long periods. 5D money consciousness operates in quantum time. In 5D, you understand that all possibilities exist simultaneously right now in the quantum field. The version of you earning your desired income already exists in a parallel frequency. You're not waiting for that reality to arrive in the future. You're collapsing it into your present through frequency alignment. Time isn't linear in 5D, it's simultaneous. You can quantum leap to your desired financial reality without going through all the intermediate steps that 3D logic says are necessary. Wealth can appear suddenly because you're not building it sequentially. You're collapsing it from a dimension where it already exists fully formed. This allows rapid, dramatic financial shifts that seem impossible from 3D perspective. 3D consciousness sees wealth as scarce. In 3D, money is limited. There's only so much to go around, and if someone else has it, that means less for you. You compete for limited resources. You believe you need to fight, struggle, and work harder than others to get your share. This scarcity paradigm creates stress, comparison, and the belief that wealth requires sacrifice. You think you must give up time, freedom, health, or relationships to have money. The more money you want, the more you believe you must sacrifice. This creates internal resistance to wealth because at some level, you're associating it with loss. 5D consciousness sees wealth as infinite. In 5D, abundance is the natural state of the universe. Money is just energy, and energy is unlimited. There's no competition because infinite parallel realities mean everyone can be wealthy simultaneously without taking from anyone else. You're not fighting for limited resources. You're tapping into infinite source. Wealth doesn't require sacrifice because it's not about trading one thing for another. It's about alignment with the frequency where wealth is your natural state. You can have money and freedom and health and relationships, all simultaneously, because you're not operating in scarcity paradigm anymore. This removes internal resistance and allows wealth to flow naturally. 3D consciousness requires force and effort. In 3D, you make things happen. You push, strive, hustle, force outcomes through sheer willpower and determination. You're the source of your success. It all depends on your individual actions. If you stop pushing, everything stops. This creates constant pressure and exhaustion because you believe you're solely responsible for generating every result through effort. The focus is on doing more, working harder, taking massive action. Success feels difficult because it requires constant forcing against resistance. 5D consciousness operates through alignment and allowing. In 5D, you don't make things happen. You allow them to happen by aligning your frequency with the reality where they already exist. You're not the source. You're a channel for universal abundance that flows through you when you're aligned. Your job is getting into the right frequency and staying there, and the universe orchestrates circumstances to match. This feels effortless because you're working with flow instead of against resistance. The focus is on being, not doing. You become the frequency of wealth, and wealth manifests naturally as circumstances align with your state. Success feels easy because you're pulling it toward you magnetically rather than chasing it down forcefully. 3D consciousness is identity based on circumstance. In 3D, who you are is determined by what you have and what you do. You identify as your current financial level. If you're broke, you are broke. Your identity is tied to external circumstances, and changing circumstances feels like changing who you are, which triggers resistance. You wait for circumstances to change before you allow yourself to be different. This keeps you stuck because your identity and circumstances are locked in a loop reinforcing each other. 5D consciousness is identity based on frequency. In 5D, who you are is determined by what frequency you choose to embody, regardless of current circumstances. You can identify as wealthy before having physical wealth because identity is an energetic choice, not a circumstantial condition. You become the wealthy version of you first, and circumstances shift to match your new identity frequency. This breaks the 3D loop because you're changing identity consciously, and circumstances must follow. Identity leads, circumstances follow, the opposite of 3D. Understanding these distinctions clarifies why you've been stuck. You've been operating in 3D consciousness, linear time, scarcity, force, circumstance-based identity, trying to create unlimited wealth within a limited framework. The shift to 5D consciousness opens unlimited potential because you're no longer bound by 3D rules. Why you're stuck in 3D money consciousness. Before you can make the dimensional shift, you need to understand why you're currently locked in 3D money consciousness. These patterns keep you trapped in linear, limited wealth creation when 5D abundance is available. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to transcending them. The first 3D trap is survival mode programming. Your nervous system was conditioned to perceive financial situations as survival threats. When your ancestors lived in actual physical scarcity, 3D consciousness was necessary for survival. Work hard or die, gather resources or starve, compete or perish. This programming encoded itself into human collective consciousness and was passed down through generations. You inherited survival-based 3D programming that keeps you locked in effort equals survival mode even though you're no longer in life or death circumstances. Your body doesn't know the difference between actual survival threat and perceived financial stress, so it keeps you in 3D fight or flight consciousness, unable to access the higher dimensional awareness where wealth flows effortlessly. The second trap is cultural conditioning. You've been raised in a society that operates almost exclusively in 3D consciousness. Every message you received about money was 3D based. Work hard for money. Time is money. Struggle builds character. Nothing comes easy. You have to earn everything. These messages reinforced 3D linear thinking and made 5D concepts seem unrealistic or irresponsible. You were taught to trust only what you can see, measure, and control, all 3D concepts. Anything beyond that was dismissed as fantasy. This cultural programming keeps you locked in 3D because you've been conditioned to believe it's the only real way, making 5D consciousness feel illegitimate or inaccessible. The third trap is proof-seeking. In 3D consciousness, you need to see evidence before you believe. You want physical proof that 5D wealth creation works before you're willing to fully commit to it. But 5D operates on the principle of belief before proof. You must embody the frequency first, then evidence appears in 3D. This is backward from 3D logic, where proof precedes belief. So you stay stuck waiting for proof that can't come until you make the shift. Your demand for 3D proof keeps you locked in 3D, unable to access 5D where the wealth you seek already exists. It's a catch-22 created by 3D consciousness itself. The fourth trap is action addiction. You've been conditioned to believe that if you're not actively doing something in 3D, nothing is happening. So you stay busy, taking constant action, believing that doing more will create more. But 5D wealth creation requires being, not just doing. It requires holding frequency, trusting the process, allowing time for quantum reorganization before 3D manifestation. To your 3D mind, this looks like doing nothing, which triggers guilt and anxiety that drive you back into frantic action. Your addiction to action as proof of progress keeps you locked in 3D effort mode, unable to relax into 5D allowing mode where the real magic happens. The fifth trap is immediate gratification expectation. 3D consciousness wants instant, visible results. When you don't see immediate 3D evidence of your 5D frequency work, you conclude it's not working and revert to 3D strategies. But 5D to 3D collapse has a variable timeline, sometimes rapid, sometimes requiring sustained frequency maintenance before physical manifestation. Your impatience with the process and demand for instant 3D results keeps interrupting the 5D frequency that would eventually collapse wealth into your reality. You keep breaking the energetic pattern before it completes by dropping back to 3D consciousness prematurely. The sixth trap is identity attachment to struggle. You've identified as someone who works hard, struggles, and earns through effort for so long that this identity feels like who you are. Shifting to 5D consciousness where wealth comes through alignment rather than effort threatens this identity. Your ego resists because effortless abundance would mean you're not who you've always been. You're unconsciously attached to struggle as proof of worthiness, value, and identity. This attachment keeps you in 3D because releasing struggle feels like losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself, you're transcending a limited version of yourself to access a more expansive one. These 6 traps, survival programming, cultural conditioning, proof-seeking, action addiction, immediate gratification, and identity attachment to struggle, work together to keep you locked in 3D money consciousness. They feel normal and necessary because you've operated within them your entire life. But they're just programming, and programming can be transcended. The Dimensional Shift Protocol dismantles these traps systematically. The 3D to 5D Dimensional Shift Protocol. Now the exact protocol for shifting from 3D money consciousness to 5D abundance frequency. This isn't visualization or affirmation. This is dimensional frequency shifting through specific practices that move your consciousness from linear limitation to quantum abundance. Practice daily for 60 days to stabilize in 5D frequency. Step 1. 5D Wealth Identity Activation, 15 minutes daily. You must consciously embody your 5D wealthy identity before it exists in 3D. This is the opposite of 3D logic but essential for 5D collapse. Practice. Close your eyes. Release your attachment to current 3D circumstances, your bank account, your current income, your material reality. Now, step into 5D where the wealthy version of you already exists. Feel into this identity. How does 5D wealthy you think? How do they feel? What energy do they carry? What beliefs do they hold? Embody this identity completely, not as fantasy, but as an actual you that exists now in higher dimension. Hold this embodied state for 15 minutes. Speak as this identity. I am already wealthy in 5D. I am collapsing this reality into 3D now. You're not pretending, you're accessing a real version of you that exists at higher frequency. Step 2. Linear time release, 10 minutes daily. You must free yourself from 3D linear time constraints. Practice. Sit comfortably. Acknowledge that 3D consciousness says your wealth is in the future, and you must work toward it over time. Now consciously reject this limitation. Speak. I release linear time. My wealth exists now in 5D. I don't need to wait for time to pass. I collapse time through frequency alignment. Visualize collapsing the timeline, past, present, and future existing simultaneously, with your wealthy reality accessible right now. Feel the liberation of not being bound by linear progression. You're training your consciousness to operate outside 3D time constraints, which allows quantum leaps that seem impossible in linear time. Step 3. Scarcity to abundance paradigm shift, 10 minutes daily. You must consciously shift from 3D scarcity to 5D abundance paradigm. Practice. Notice thoughts of scarcity, not enough, limited resources, competition. When you catch these 3D thoughts, immediately reframe to 5D, infinite abundance, unlimited resources, everyone can prosper simultaneously. Do this actively throughout your day. Every scarcity thought is a return to 3D. Every abundance thought is a step toward 5D. Speak affirmations that reinforce 5D paradigm. Abundance is infinite. The universe is unlimited. Wealth is my natural state in 5D. This daily practice gradually shifts your default paradigm from 3D scarcity to 5D abundance, which changes what you can perceive and receive. Step 4. Force to flow transition, 10 minutes daily. You must shift from 3D forcing to 5D allowing. Practice. Identify where you're forcing in your financial life, pushing opportunities, controlling outcomes, straining to make things happen. Consciously release the forcing. Speak. I release force. I trust flow. I allow my 5D wealth to collapse into 3D through alignment, not effort. Practice feeling the difference between forced action, heavy, tense, strained, and aligned action, light, inspired, effortless. Take only aligned actions, those that feel easy and inspired. Refuse forced actions, those that feel like obligation or struggle. This trains you to operate in 5D flow consciousness instead of 3D force consciousness. Step 5. Dimensional bridge building, 15 minutes daily. You must create an energetic bridge between 5D where your wealth exists and 3D where you experience it physically. Practice. Visualize yourself standing in 3D reality. Above and around you, see 5D reality shimmering, a higher frequency dimension where your wealthy self exists. Visualize golden light creating a bridge between your 3D self and your 5D wealthy self. See your 5D abundance flowing down this bridge into your 3D reality. Money, opportunities, resources, flowing from higher dimension into physical form. Feel this flow happening. Speak, I bridge 5D and 3D. My wealth flows from higher dimension into physical reality now. This practice creates an energetic pathway for 5D abundance to collapse into 3D experience. Step 6. Frequency maintenance and recalibration throughout the day. You must maintain 5D frequency consistently, not just during practice. Set hourly reminders. When they sound, check, am I in 3D consciousness, struggling, forcing, limited, or 5D consciousness, trusting, allowing, abundant? If you've dropped to 3D, immediately recalibrate. Take 3 breaths, reconnect with your 5D wealthy identity, reaffirm abundance paradigm, return to flow state. This constant maintenance prevents you from spending entire days in 3D, which would block the 5D to 3D collapse. The more time you spend in 5D frequency, the faster your wealth manifests in 3D. Step 7. Gratitude for 5D wealth, 10 minutes evening. Before sleep, practice gratitude for wealth that exists in 5D even if you haven't seen it in 3D yet. This anchors your consciousness in the reality where you're already wealthy. Speak, thank you for my abundant wealth that exists in 5D. Thank you for its collapse into my 3D reality. I am grateful for what I cannot yet see but know exists. Feel genuine gratitude for your 5D wealth. This practice keeps you anchored in the frequency where wealth is already real, which accelerates its physical manifestation. These 7 steps, identity activation, time release, paradigm shift, force-to-flow transition, bridge building, frequency maintenance, and gratitude, practiced consistently for 60 days, complete your dimensional shift from 3D to 5D money consciousness. Living in 5D abundance consciousness. Let's explore what life looks like when you've successfully shifted from 3D to 5D money consciousness, when you're consistently operating from higher dimensional frequency where wealth is natural and abundant. This transformation changes not just your bank account but your entire experience of financial reality. The first transformation is quantum leaps instead of linear progress. In 3D, income grew gradually. Small percentage increases year over year. In 5D, you experience quantum leaps, sudden, dramatic income increases that defy linear logic. One month you're at one level, the next month you've doubled or tripled your income through an opportunity that appeared out of nowhere. This isn't luck, it's 5D wealth collapsing into 3D. The wealthy version of you that exists in 5D is pulling your 3D reality up to match, creating leaps that seem impossible from 3D perspective. You're no longer bound by incremental progress because you're collapsing realities rather than building them slowly. The second transformation is effortless manifestation. In 3D, creating wealth required constant effort and force. In 5D, wealth manifests through alignment and allowing. You think about needing something and it appears quickly. You desire an income level and circumstances arrange themselves to deliver it. You're not pushing or forcing. You're simply holding the frequency of wealth, and 3D reality reorganizes around that frequency. What used to require exhausting effort now happens naturally because you're working with quantum flow instead of against 3D resistance. This doesn't mean no action, it means inspired action that feels easy instead of forced action that feels hard. The third transformation is time freedom. In 3D, you traded time for money, capping your income at how many hours you could work. In 5D, income isn't tied to time. You can earn more while working less because you're not generating wealth through time, you're collapsing it through frequency. Money comes from unexpected sources during times you're not working. Opportunities appear that generate income without corresponding time investment. You've broken the time-money link that kept you trapped in 3D. Your wealth is now frequency-dependent, not time-dependent, which creates true freedom. The fourth transformation is abundance as default state. In 3D, scarcity was your baseline and abundance was something you had to create through effort. In 5D, abundance is your baseline because that's the natural state of higher dimensions. You don't have to work to create abundance. You are abundant, and your 3D reality gradually reflects this internal state. Scarcity becomes the anomaly that you quickly correct by returning to 5D frequency. You're no longer swimming upstream against scarcity current. You're flowing downstream with abundance current, which feels completely different. The fifth transformation is synchronicity and coincidence, multiplication. In 3D, helpful coincidences were rare. In 5D, they're constant. The right person appears at the perfect time. The needed resource shows up exactly when required. Circumstances align with precision that seems orchestrated, because they are. Your 5D consciousness is communicating with the quantum field, which responds by arranging beneficial synchronicities. You're working with universal intelligence instead of operating solo. This creates a life that feels supported and guided rather than random and difficult. The sixth transformation is identity security. In 3D, your identity was tied to circumstances. If finances struggled, you felt like a failure. In 5D, your identity is anchored in your chosen frequency regardless of temporary 3D circumstances. You know you're abundant in 5D, so temporary 3D fluctuations don't shake your identity or frequency. This security prevents you from spiraling back into 3D consciousness when challenges occur. You remain stable in 5D awareness, which allows challenges to resolve quickly instead of pulling you into downward spirals. Perhaps most importantly, you develop dimensional consciousness, the ability to recognize which dimension you're operating from moment to moment and consciously choose 5D. You notice when you've dropped into 3D struggle and immediately shift back to 5D flow. You become adept at navigating between dimensions, living primarily in 5D while functioning in 3D physical reality. This is mastery, operating in higher consciousness while still accomplishing practical tasks in physical world. Here's the truth, your next income level already exists, but not in 3D. It exists in 5D, in a higher dimensional frequency where a wealthier version of you is already living it. Stop trying to build wealth through 3D effort alone. Make the dimensional shift. Move from 3D consciousness, linear time, scarcity, force, struggle, to 5D consciousness, quantum time, abundance, flow, ease. Use the protocol daily for 60 days. Activate your 5D identity, release linear time, shift to abundance paradigm, transition from force to flow, build your dimensional bridge, maintain 5D frequency. Your 5D wealth is real. It's waiting for you to match its frequency so it can collapse into your 3D experience. Make the shift. Collapse your wealth identity from higher dimensions. Welcome to 5D abundance consciousness. Your quantum wealth awaits.